Hello. Do.
I forgot to move these bowls over, so let me do that.
Alright. I'm moving them over. Hopefully the some of the warm air and the air coming from the air conditioner will help dry those out a little bit while we work on other stuff. This can kind of come in a little bit closer, huh? So in the meantime, you may have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, this the post that I made about this glaze and how it's awful. You can see all my fingerprints on it. It's just super powdery, and it, like, I barely have to touch it and it wipes off. So I think I may, in transporting it, end up spraying it with some cheap hairspray. I might pick up some cheap hairspray to try and just set it so it's got a little bit of a barrier. Not stuff on you. In the meantime, we're glazing this pitcher is the word. Let's see, I should pull up. I wonder if I can share them, because the problem with glazing in so many situations is that this looks nothing like what it's gonna look like. So it's hard for me to tell people what this is going to look like, because this is not representative at all. So let me see if I can't share it. Not for my phone, I won't be able to. It's alright. Anyway, it's gonna be, hopefully, dark brown here with a orange and blue runny spot up here that will hopefully run down over here and hopefully not attach it to a kiln post or a kiln shelf. I'm only going to be glazing the runny glaze up here at the top in hopes of... So these Mako glazes are stable at cone 10, but they run a lot. So they're generally formulated more for cones, cone 6, but they do some really interesting things at cone 10. It's just they run a lot, and I haven't quite figured out how much that is, how much they run. So you might be able to see, I've given this quite a bit more foot than I usually would. I usually only wax 1/4 inch up from the base, and this is probably, this is maybe 1/2 inch up from the base, in hopes that I will prevent, or at least limit, a good amount of the stickage to any kiln shelves. That being said, I will be firing this with a cookie underneath of it in hopes of if it does run, I don't A, ruin any kiln shelves, but B, hopefully I can chip it off without breaking the entire thing. So this is Tiger's Eye, Mako's Tiger's Eye, with their light flux over this top part. And the flux makes things run, which is why I'm only putting it up here. I don't want to take it any farther than that because it will pick up steam and run itself right off the pot. You don't want that. I'm not going to be doing like a bunch of heavy layers of this. I'm probably going to give it these two like nice flowing layers and call it good, because it will melt quite a bit. And we don't need a lot to get what we're looking for, what I'm looking for, hopefully. And hopefully it turns out, because most of the pictures I've done previously, I fucked up. Get out of here, Fi. And this will be a shock to no one on account of not testing glazes. So, fly. It's like gone back and forth around the door like 3 times. Let's just do it around the rim on these. I have 4 little bowls. I know they're not in frame now. I hate touching this because I'm scared I'm gonna end up with fingerprints all over it. Similarly, for these little bowls, I gave myself more space than I usually do. Because that glaze is a hot mess. But all of these are getting fired on cookies, just to make sure. That's why I made a stack of them. When I did make these, I made, I don't know, or when I made cookies, I made, I don't know, 30 of them or so. So that can do things like this. But I just have to be careful because they're messy. I also need to figure out what I'm doing. I've got 3 more mugs over here. Yeah, I can't turn that far. I got 3 more mugs that I need to glaze, and I would like to glaze them with some of my other glazes. So I need to figure those out as well. So there might be a brief period of dinking around on my phone to figure out what I'm doing. Because I have at least two glazes I haven't tried. At all yet, and would like to try those, but I don't know what they look like. See what I mean? This glaze is just a mess. I barely touch it, and it just powders off on everything, which sucks for moving it since I don't have my own kiln and I have to take it to go be fired. It means that everything that I pack it with ends up with dusty black stuff on it. And I feel bad for the people that load the kiln. They're always like, are you sure that that's what it's supposed to do? And I'm like, yep. It's awful. But it looks pretty. When it's done right. That's what I mean by not having a love-hate relationship with it. Like, when it does what I want it to do, then I like it. But if it's a little too heavy, I don't like it. And also, I'm chancing it at cone 10 to run and ruin the pot anyway. Which is pretty on brand for me. Testing, why do that? All right, fly, get out of here. You managed to get in here. Here, you dummy. No. Not trying to kill you. Nope. Trying to do that with a paper towel is not working. Trying to get a fly out of here because it's stuck on the window and it's annoying me. There we go. Got it. Go out that way. Dummy. Fire this cup too, might as well. This is the one where the handle broke off before it was fired, so I had him fire it anyway and then just sanded down where the attachment was. So now it's a cup, right? But I need to figure out what to do with it. Like I said, today there might be a little bit of dinking around on my phone to figure out what the plan is for some of these. My sculptural piece though came back out. I haven't decided what to do with it yet, but I'll probably end up either raku firing it or something. But normally I would Sager fire it, but I'm not sure how I feel about Sager for my stuff. It doesn't interest me all that much, generally. Oh, what an awful sound. Ugh. Give myself chills. Fishy, are you too hot? Sometimes you have to remind him that he's too hot. Tudor, are you too hot? Do you need to come in? Yeah. Okay, good. Want some water? Is it too chilly? Here, try that one now. Like, no. All right, so now I need to figure out what to do with these cups. Well, cup and 3 mugs. And I might as well glaze those other 3 little bowls while I'm at it. Oh, the other thing, because one of these cutouts ended up inside of it, it's now a rattle. I don't know that I'll ever be able to get it back out. Let's see. See if we can try. There it is. I'll probably never be able to get it. Curses. It's like a puzzle game. I got a hold of it. It's like turning it the right direction. High quality content, guys. What I need is a pair of tweezers, I think. I have a pair of pliers out here. I don't think so. It's right there. All right, we'll worry about that later. We're not actually accomplishing anything. Gotta wax these couple things, these warped bowls. Bring your needle nose and you can just break it. Maybe. I'll see. I mean, I don't need it right now. I got other stuff I can actually do. Actually accomplish. So this orange clay is my cone 6 clay. And I wanted to try some of these. I got 2 opulence glazes, which I've never used opulence glazes before, so these are, you can see there are S-cracks in the, there's an S-crack in the bottom of this one, and one of the other ones is warped pretty badly, but I want to glaze test these. So these kind of I don't know what you'd call them, crabby bowls. They're not even really seconds. Well, this one could be. The crack doesn't go all the way through, but it's a second. It's gonna act as a perfect little glaze test. To test these glazes on my clay, how they look, what they look like in combination, what they look like by themselves. Since I'm painting them on, there's really no reason for me to wax the very base of these. I only really need a band. That one's already waxed apparently. This one, the crack, I don't know if you'll be able to see it at all, but there is a tiny, tiny little minuscule crack there. And obviously one at the bottom as well. So, would an opaque glaze probably cover that crack up? Yes. Make it perfectly functional? Yeah. I'm just not gonna sell that. Mostly because it's unintentional. There's a potter, I want to say his name's Noel Bailey. Interesting potter to look at. But he makes intentional cuts in, mostly it's mugs, but he does platters and other stuff too. But like he'll make intentional cuts, slits in the side, that he will allow glaze to fill in. So they have like these translucent window panes kind of glaze. No, don't do that. Which is interesting. Like his stuff's, his glazing is gorgeous and his stuff's very pretty. And I like his forms. I also think it's a neat idea to play with stuff like that. But not unintentional cracks like that. Not my vibe. There we go. So on a lot of these, because I knew I was going to be using the glazes that ran a lot, I put a stop. You can see this ridge that I kind of intentionally made. It works in the design of the cup as well, but it was very intentional. And it's there to act, hopefully, to help stop glaze running. Glaze has to make it up and over that bump before it runs farther off the pot. So, very intentional bump, that one. I made this cup last year, apparently. It was actually, I think, in my last batch of glazes, or last batch of mugs. That didn't make any sense. So, it's been a minute since I decided to finally do something with it. Come on. There we go. Sorry, I was fighting with the threads on the wax jar. I should probably clean the threads on there. poor brush. I always use the same brush for waxing, and it's really, I've talked about it before, but it's really, let's see if we can get a nice, see if it'll focus on it. Come on, you can do it. There it is. It's starting to get a little beat up. You can kind of see it's no longer really wanting to hold a nice fine line. They're fraying at the edges. And I think that's mostly just from painting on the bisqueware, because it's so rough. It affects the glazes. All right, well, that dries. So I got these two glazes. Let's see, which ones did I buy? Red Shimmer by Opulence and Sea Spray by Opulence. I have a feeling the Sea Spray is very much like a green tea, which is the glaze that I have by Mako and use, and what's the Amico equivalent? It is green tea, and it's like seaweed is, I think, the Amico equivalent. I'm sure it's very similar. But I got these two glazes for a reason, and let's find out what that was. Sea Spray. Oh. I think they were on sale too, so I grabbed them because I was like, let's give it a shot. And Sea Spray. I should just Google what I'm actually looking for. Is it over Red Shimmer? Let's see. Like I said, unfortunately today is going to be, today's going to be a lot of looking at my phone to try and figure out glaze combinations, unfortunately. Because that's how I didn't plan ahead, I guess. That is the best way to do that. Not showing up is what I want. So let's see. Why did I order these two glazes together? Surely I was like, these look good. Together for whatever reason. The question is, what was that reason? Welcome, people. This enthralling stream of me searching things on my phone. Let's do Opulence glaze combinations and see what that gets me. Maybe Mid-South is, I think this is the, yeah, these are manufactured by Mid-South, so that should be where I should be looking. Blah, blah, blah. Not the instructional videos. I don't know. Shop opulence glazes. Not create a glaze chart either. Alright, let's see if we pull up the glaze, if it'll give us other, like it in combination with other things. Or if it's just gonna show me how to buy it. Not helpful. Cool. Let's see if we can search. Should have done that sooner. Maybe it was on their Facebook. It is very bright. Apparently, hold on, let's flip back and we'll see if you'll be able to even see. Apparently, those are the two glazes there. So the red shimmer is very bright pink almost. That's why. That's almost certainly. So, let's see if it'll, the glare on it's not great, but it turns it that runny, bright blue. We'll give it a shot, see what we look like. I think as we kick stuff, I think we might be all right. See what we can do. All right, since we're just what do we got? 2 to 3 coats. Use a soft brush when laying different opulence glazes. Apply 2 to 3 coats of a second glaze. Brush more liquid. Brush 3 to 4 coats on cone 06 to 04 bisque. For best results, use a soft brush. When layering different opulence glazes, apply 2 to 3 coats of the second glaze. Brushable liquid glazes, capfuls of water, shake well before using, let it dry. Cool. All right. So. I do like their packaging in a way. So I like these lids in that they're easy to grab onto. The thing I don't like about this is it's a narrow neck bottle, so getting a brush inside there is kind of difficult. I can move this over a little bit. Hi, very in my face. All right. And it's also, so occasionally, not infrequently, I'll pour the inside of the bowls because it's easier rather than brushing them, and then pour back out. With a narrow neck bottle like this, it makes it difficult to do that. So I like the lid design for the bottle. I don't like the bottle itself. Because you'll see, let me show you the other, what we got here. So that's coat one, right? So Mako's pints, so this is a pint here. Mako's pints come in a wide mouth jar, which is really nice for getting a brush into. You can get a large brush into it. It's also much easier to pour into. Amico's are a little bit more annoying in that they look like this. So it's a tall pint instead, still a much wider mouth, like almost exactly the circumference of this bottle rather than this tiny little mouth. Don't mind me. So one thing you have to think about when glazing pieces is that it's something you think more about, like if you've done art before, glaze isn't paint. So just because it looks wet doesn't mean you've put down anything. You are painting, quote unquote, with chemicals, right? Like there are minerals and clays and silica bits in here. So you need to apply it decently thickly in order to layer those things up. Otherwise, you're not actually doing anything. You're not depositing any of that material on the surface. So when they talk about coats of glaze, it's usually, they like to use the phrase flowing coats, because your brush should really just glide over the surface. So you should have enough glaze to actually do that if you're brushing on. I have talked before about there are three-ish different ways to glaze. There is brushing, which takes the longest but gives you the most control. It also is the most expensive generally, because typically when you're brushing, you need a formulation of glaze that is a little bit thicker than you normally would. You can develop your own glazes, like you can make your own glazes, and formulate them to be brushable, but generally most glazes that are made in-house, like by the user, are typically formulated to be dipping glazes, generally. There's some amount of like you can, in order to make them brushable well, you have to put additives in them that keep those things in suspension, the ingredients in suspension a little bit better. But it's much easier if you're formulating your own glazes rather than purchasing your own glazes, to make dipping glazes, or same kind of style you can use in a spray gun. So dipping is obviously the fastest way to glaze. You are dipping the whole piece in, it absorbs the water in the glaze, and you have now put a nice even coat of glaze all over your piece. It is obviously much faster than brushing in that you're not having to wait for it to dry, you're not having to go over it a second time, that kind of thing. You can dip multiple glazes, you just have to be careful with how thick you build up the glaze, because it will run if you build up glazes too thickly. Spraying can be fast. You have more control over spraying than you do dipping, but not as much control, I would say. Well, some people have a lot of control with spraying, but you don't have quite as much control as you would with brushing, I would say. You can get different techniques though. With spraying, you can get really beautiful gradients because you can control very fine layers of glaze. So you can very finely fade one glaze into another. And you can't do that quite as nicely with a brush. It's a little clunkier. But the downside to spraying is that it also requires having a spray booth, because you can't just spray around glaze without it being hazardous. Like you need to be wearing, you should be wearing a mask while you spray, a respirator, because there's silica in here and you're just aerosolizing it. You should be, there are just more health concerns, I guess, involved with spraying. That should actually sit and dry before I put more glaze on top of it. In the meantime, I think we're gonna test these other glazes that I have, these Mako glazes. So the ones that I have not tested out yet, I have Indigo Rain, which is a crystalline glaze. It ends up looking kind of like that. But I'm kind of interested to see how it looks on my Cone 6 clay. What's the other one? Copper Float was another one that I got, and Lavender Mist. And I'm curious as to why I got those. There was certainly a reason of sitting down and looking at Mako's combinations. If you haven't looked at Mako's website and are a potter, there are lots of, they do lots of test tiles, both at Cone 6 and Cone 10 reduction. Sorry. Which is really nice. They also typically have test tiles done on 3 different clay bodies, which I like more than Amico usually has. Last I looked, I haven't looked on their website in a little while. Amico's glazes, oh hi spider friend, you are going to be evicted, sorry friend. Amico, last I looked, had no, friend! Hold up, my dude. No, my friend. There we go. Spider friend can find a house underneath the shed. Last I looked, Amico has a very nice, does a nice job of combining their glazes, but it's usually done on one clay body, last I looked. and usually only at cone 6, which, because I fire to both cone 6 and cone 10, I really like that amount of information that Mako gives. Which is why I've kind of sided with them over Amico or Opulence, I guess. Most of the glaze companies kind of offer very similar things. In regards to glaze, what the glazes look like. They all, like I was talking about before, Opulence has sea spray, and Mako has green tea, and Amico has seaweed, and they're all these. I think the one that we use in the community studio is jade. They're all a likely copper containing green glaze that, in combination with other glazes, is very reactive. So it causes very different effects in combination with other glazes. So they all kind of have that in their line. But the main reason I picked up Mako over Amico or Coyote is another one. Coyote, the reason I don't use them is most of their cone 6 glazes do not work on the clay that I use. Not that I couldn't change clay. I'm not like, this clay is fine. I enjoy it most of the time. I think I would like having a cone 6 white clay as well. Just because glazes tend to show up more purely on a white clay. This clay body contains iron and manganese flecks, so the manganese flecks cause black spots in the glaze that typically show through glazes, which is fine. I like some of that effect, but sometimes I just kind of want a smooth, nice, clean surface. But I could talk forever about my glaze wanderings. All right, let's switch back here since I'm gonna do some more searching here. Let's see, copper float. And why did I get copper float? I would bet money it's for that. Let's see. It flux over copper float. I'm trying to, I forget where, so it's above. All right, cool. In a list, I kind of forget where the line or the title of which is which is. Nope, that's not at all what I wanted. So I'm pretty sure it's copper float over Himalayan salt, which is not one that I use a lot, but it would probably be on the outside only. Let's see. I know better than, I should just bookmark Mako's glaze combinations site because I'm there all the time. Is it at cone 10 or cone 6 is the question. Copper float, doo 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 doo. There it is. So it is. cone 10. No, it's a cone 6. It does, this is not a great image. Make a command for it, right? So, right, this way, and that. We've got some like purples and greens, but it runs like a motherfucker, it would appear. Which means I should line the inside because Himalayan salt is not food safe on the inside of a piece. So need to line it with something. Is copper float food safe? It is dinnerware safe. So that's fun. So I don't know if that really in combination with that like really bright color, I don't know if you'll be able to see this. It's like this copper float is very, let's see, that way. It's a very dark glaze with floating coppery bits, if that makes sense. So that almost like rainbow on the outside would be kind of incongruous, which means it should probably be lined with something else at cone 6. Let's see what it does at cone 10. Oh wait, no, that was cone 10, silly me. I needed a cone 6. But certainly that was why I purchased copper float, almost certainly, because I have Himalayan salt already. But there should be at least, usually I don't buy them if I only like one glaze combination, but oh, hot dog. There are a couple in the cone 6 that are interesting, but I don't know. I might just put it on there kind of plain for now and go from there. Himalayan salt isn't very pink. No, it's very kind of tan and matte. I think it's a little crystally in that. Let's see what it looks like on the Himalayan salt is which? Is it 7? Yeah. So this is what it looks like on my 112. Oh, hi, Kohai. This is on my 112 clay. Standard 112, right? Come on. Focus, please. There it is. It's very matte and soft, kind of. You do get a little bit of pink in where it's thick, but yeah, it's very toasted marshmallowy kind of glaze, and not one that I would use. Obviously, because it's really soft and matte, it's not dinnerware safe at all. So I only use it in combination, and it only has to go on the outside of stuff, which is why I've had the same pint for forever, since I purchased it with the original purchase of all of my glazes. But it does do some interesting things when it's heated up hot. I really should make a command for the Mako glaze combination so that everybody can like follow along if you want. But let's see. Some interesting plain ones. My favorite, love to hate it, hate to love it glaze I was talking about earlier is Tiger's Eye on here. So let's see. There it is. So it's, when thick, is this kind of this ugly orange. And I don't mind this orange in combination with stuff. You get some, when it's thin, it's brown, like a deep brown with some breaking with blue. Some like blues in there. It's really a beautiful glaze, but man, do I hate it. Oh no. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll have to go and find your new one. I imagine it's on your profile. I'll go and find your new one and follow you then. But yeah, I love this glaze. It's just a pain. The other thing, hey, an official art account's great. The other thing I hate about it is, so I was like, oh, I love that glaze, and got it in a dippable amount, right? A big bucket worth. But the formulation for the dipping glaze and the brushing glaze is different. And it's the glaze that, if you followed me on Instagram, I was asking about, because it's a powdery mess when it dries on the surface of pots. Like, you can barely touch it and it will rub off on you. So, all right, now we need to look at, yesterday someone asked you if you do commissions. Oh, awesome. That's awesome. What am I looking for? Indigo Rain. Commissions scare me too much, especially with pottery, like particularly the raku pieces. I'm not gonna do it. I don't really like even thinking about it for regular stuff, but the raku stuff is just has too high a potential for failure that I don't wanna mess with it. Because I will never be able to commit to dates or anything. And also, the other thing with commissions is I don't want to ever fall into that place where you go and do something and somebody's like, well, that's not what I want. And you've spent in pottery days, like, I don't know, for 3 or 4 weeks on a project, and now you're stuck with a set of dishes or whatever. That, I mean, sure, I can sell that, but I could have been doing other stuff. For Kohai, definitely do a commission. for the exposure. There's what I'm looking for. Hannah, you are snoozing down there. All right, so this is I'm looking at Indigo Rain at cone 6 to see what we got for that. I do wish their combination selections were a little bit more extensive, but they do a pretty good job. It must have been a cone 10 thing. Let's look at cone 10. I know this is enthralling. Nothing like watching somebody sit down and just scroll on their phone the whole time. But we're making choices. I've said a couple times, I need to get a nice color printer, or at least like put them into a binder, like print all of the glazes that I have and all of their combinations and why I use them. And yes, I could make myself my own glaze board, but like, that's so fucking annoying. And is like a project in and of itself. I have like a couple of test tiles, but to do it the way it needs to be done is like a project. It's not not a quick thing. All right, why did I get Indigo Rain? Why? Was it just... Sometimes I wonder. Oh, he's so hot. Yeah, sometimes I wonder about myself because I don't see anything that I'm like really loving. I mean, I guess it by itself is kind of nice, but plus the rain, yeah. Prices are so hard to figure out. Definitely go for a deposit just in case, sure. I think most people for commission work usually take an upfront deposit and then you know, the second half of the money after. But I don't know. I don't like interfacing with people enough. She says as she talks to people on the internet, but you're all faceless and so it doesn't matter. It's really me just talking to myself. I think I must have just got, yeah, right. Well, I have to live with you. Certainly, I had... The only thing I can think is I got this Lavender Mist and Indigo Rain together in order to do this. And this is not going to show up well at all, but it's like a swirly blue situation. Hey Tudor, did you get some water? Did you get some water? Look. Did you get some water? No, you don't want it? Where is... All right. We're gonna try that because that was at... Is it at cone 6? Go back, please. Now it won't let me go back without... Go back. I knew that was gonna happen. God damn it. Only do character design because it's a lot of work from concept to coloring on all the different views. Yeah. Man, I hit the X button and I knew that was gonna happen, but it completely pulled me out. Excuse me. Do what I want, please. I have to find it again. Anyway, where did it go? Where did it go? Well, we'll just go to Lavender Mist because that's fine. It should be on there as well. Lavender Mist. And Indigo Rain. It is at cone 6. All right, we're gonna go with it. And of course, I backed out and then didn't walk. I'm the worst. I'm my own worst enemy. I really am. I was looking for it. It's Indigo Rain over Lavender Mist. All right, now that we got that sorted, Jeezy peas. Now we can flip back and do one of these in it. Maybe we won't get to anything else because I'm hopelessly unorganized. Like, how long should it take me to do all of these bowls? Not that long. But here we are. I think for this one, I might also leave a small part of this glazed in just the one color down here in the bottom and only layer the top portion so that I can kind of see what this glaze looks like plain over the speckled tan clay. Ah. Dude, you choking? It's like my allergies. Munching on your own mucus. If you can name that reference, you can be my best friend. Without Googling it. This one's a little on the thicker side, so we might just do 2 nice thick coats here. I feel like I gave enough time. It's from Hook. Which is a fantastic movie. Paramecium brain. Well, that dries. Let me check on these guys. Still pretty wet. I might do a little bit of juggling here. Some more of the, just shuffle them around a little bit. Probably, I don't know if you can even see what I'm doing. Not really, you can see my butt's back there. Just shuffling these uncovered small bowls back here around. Since I have the door open and it's nice and warm, I'm gonna dry them out a little bit. It's taking forever to dry. We can do the outside in the meantime. Oh, hey, sweet. What's up? How are you today? Wow. Sweep, is your screen name isn't it's not curling related, is it? Beer mugs and large serving bowls, very cool. I'm doing some random glazing, and this is more like glaze testing, some of it. But mostly it's a lot of just randomish name. Cool. Mostly what I'm doing today is sitting on my phone and looking up glaze combinations because I'm unprepared. Unprepared. All right, that's gonna take forever to try. We'll scoot over. And we'll get another brush going and do second coats on this guy. This one we're second coating with this. Dude, you are too hot. Come inside. Too hot. Tongue hanging out the side of his mouth and everything. That boy would bake his little brains out if I let him. Cutie, come inside. You're too hot. In you go. Come on. Come on. Bake his little brains out. You're too hot. See it as a name for a curling team in a beer league? Yeah. I was lamenting earlier, so this is my first time trying Opulence's glazes, which are Mid-South Ceramics glazes. I like the grippies on this bottle. Cool, great, I like that, makes it easy to open. This mouth size is dumb. And also, why does this one have a cap and the other one didn't? Ah, because it wasn't attached very well. Like, I have to try and get my brush in there. Let's swing this way so you can actually see what I'm doing. Do that. Do this. Can probably come back a little. Pour some in a bowl, yeah. I could probably pour some in a small bowl. That would not be a bad idea. And then like scrape it back in. That wouldn't be awful. But you may find out about me, I like to complain about things. My husband can attest that I just like complaining about stuff some. No, it's actually a good idea. But functionally, right, like it would be easier if the lid was, or if the mouth to the bottle was larger. don't think you guys can hear it, but it's singing. I don't know if you could hear that at all. The cap is nice. I like that it's got grippies because it's not unusual to end up getting glaze on the threads and then it'll like kind of glaze itself shut a bit. So having something to grip onto to open it is really nice. Those jars were probably 10 cents cheaper than everything else when they went to buy them. It's true. I mean, that's no question, that's how those choices a lot of the time get made. All right, we're gonna go with that for now. So that's exactly. Well, Speedball actually recently upgraded to wide mouth pints as well, specifically for this reason, that you can get your brush in it. Because artists, they still make these guys, which are fine, but for little guys. But they used to have their large bottles were like this as well, which didn't make sense, right? If you're using these bottles like this much underglaze, you're probably putting out a very small amount. But if you're using enough underglaze to need a large bottle of that underglaze, it makes a lot more sense to have a wide mouth bottle that you can just put your brush in. Yes, so almost all of these I think are pints. Is this 16 ounces? Does it even have to say? I don't think it even has to say. No, I don't, these guys don't say. This is a pint. And this is a pint. But having that wide mouth really makes a difference. I assume this is a pint. It would be silly of them not to make it a pint. More Talenti and frozen gelato. You mean, wait a minute, wait for it. Like all of those? We have chocolate pecan containers that are, we've got lots of rice containers. I think I've used up all of the Talenti ones. They're all sitting over there with tools in them. We've got old pint containers. We have to-go containers. We've got a cornstarch container back there. I'm not a container hoarder at all. At this point, actually, I've stopped collecting containers because I have so many sitting there. Yeah, like this one is, so this is the Cone 10 Celadon that we use in the community studio, and I wanted to bring some home in order to use it if I was glazing here, but like, you get a good amount of glaze in there. Same thing, this one's filled with raku glaze. But yes, I've kind of stopped collecting them for myself at this point. I do still take them into the studio to share them because they're really good containers. But I sound like such a crazy person. Like, no, that's a good container. Yeah, this particular glaze is thick enough that we're only doing 2 coats here. I also need to figure out what I'm doing cone 10 wise on those 3 mugs and cup. Somebody can use this, don't throw it away. Yes, it's that there was a reel or a TikTok going around recently that was essentially for creators about things like that, where it's like hoarding little pieces of things because, well, I could use it. The kimchi I get comes in this big glass jar with a huge mouth. I never throw them out. My problem with glass, and I like glass jars, I used to have my slip in a glass jar. The problem is when it drops, it breaks. And then I had slip covered glass, or glass covered slip. And I was like, okay, that's dangerous. Let's not do that. Dear Talenti, would you like to sponsor a pottery streamer? Yeah, right? Chocolate, peanut butter, but it's glaze, exactly. The other thing I did was I saved, if you look up in the back corner, up there, big wide mouth jar up there, animal cracker jars, because I was gonna make my own terracotta gelata, because people are like, oh, it's so easy to just make your own. And then I found out that you could buy it. I haven't actually purchased any yet, but I got it to make terracige out of for very gravity, man. It's just keep it really does. Yeah, the glass containers I'm just scared of dropping. At least with the plastic containers, I don't have to worry if they're gonna shatter if I drop them, if they get slippery or anything like that. It'll just be a mess, not a dangerous mess. Alright, what was I doing with that one? Indigo Rain over it, right? But I have to wait for it to dry. Why am I not using the sun? It is hot as dicks outside. Why am I not sitting these outside to dry? Good question. Okay, close this guy back up. All right, cone 10. What am I doing cone 10? I did make a little bit of a cheat sheet once upon a time of writing, I'm showing it on this one, of writing down, like sitting down and going through the Mako combos list at the time. This was when I first bought glazes, like first started in the studio, and wrote down the ones that I found interesting. I should really do that again, but like more seriously. There we go. Let's switch to, wait, we needed to do one more glaze test. For cone 6. But I think I've used all of the ones that I was thinking of, right? I think so. I guess let's do one in the Indigo Rain all by itself, and then one layered with the one outside. I need to not forget that that's outside because I likely will. So this Indigo Rain is one of Mako's ones that has crystals in it, so you can kind of play with it a little bit. I'm writing down these combos for, no, of course not. Of course not. I will 100% be forgetting them immediately. To be fair, thank you. I'm only using the new glazes for these glaze tests. So in theory, I should be able to figure them out pretty easily. But oh, we could get a Thanos mask and a Spider-Man shooter. Yeah, remembering which stream it's in, that'll be its own mess. Alright. So this one's it's one of the crystalline ones. And I'm curious how it looks by itself on this clay, because this clay has, like I was talking about earlier, it has manganese specks in it, so it has black flecks that come through generally on glazes. So in this particular one, the other one that I have that is crystalline like this, yeah, the one with the dog in it, exactly, is Winterwood, which is a white with brown specks. But the thing is, this one on the brown clay just ends up, do I have it just by itself? Do I not have it just by itself? I guess not. It ends up just looking like the black specks are kind of mixed in with the brownish specks. It doesn't look very different. The one thing I don't like about the crystalline glazes, the ones with crystals in it, is the crystals get stuck in your brush sometimes, and you really have to clean your brushes out well. It is getting warm in here. Is this one even? Yeah, okay. Dinnerware safe. So you can see the crystals in it. This one's pretty thick as well, so I'm thinking two coats. I'm surprised. All right, fish. I'm a little bit surprised that this one's dinnerware safe. Hey, Squid. The crochet? No, it's dogs gagging, in case you were unaware. That's what this channel is. Only. Sometimes crotchety. Yes, I will concede. I will concede that I am sometimes crotchety. No, this is the dogs gagging on their own fluids channel. I wonder, while I wait for that to dry. I do wish, can I? Not really, not well. Can't wait to see the emote for that. Man. They do keep you humble, I guess. Looks like you had oatmeal in that bowl left too long. A little bit. That's a little gross. Let's see what it looks like at cone 10. See, this is what I'm talking about. If you go to the individual glazes on Mako's website. So you have, this is what it looks like at cone 10, which is slightly different. It looks like the crystals maybe aren't quite, this is at cone 6. Cone 10, the whites and pinks of it come out a little bit more. I hope that you guys can see this really well. So this is on a speckled white clay at cone 6. Yeah, let's, hold on, since I'm not doing much, this is gonna give my husband hives. Unprotected. There we go. So speckled brown clay at cone 6. So this is in theory what it's gonna look like on my clay. Let's back that up so it'll focus. And on a dark clay, it's kind of ugly. But at cone 10, in reduction, it turns into that, which is interesting. And then this is with light and dark flux. There are 2 fluxes that you can purchase. Like, I just like that amount of information about this clay. It saves me from, or about this glaze, and they do it for all of their glazes. Yes, I would agree that electric kiln wise, the dark is the most interesting. But a lot of these crystal-y glazes aren't my favorite on their own, if I'm honest, because they look, have you ever used Mako's Jungle Gems? It's kind of the same thing. It looks kind of juvenile, I guess is the word. Like it's pre-made color choices, which is my opinion. The purples kind of go away and it becomes just more tans. But I don't know. Have that speckle one too, doesn't do much for me. Yeah, they kind of meh. I like them in combination with other things generally, because sometimes those crystals come through and make interesting things happen. By themselves, they can be kind of lackluster. Not to distract, but is that a Pelican phone protector by chance? You mean the case on it or my waterproof case? The waterproof case is just some random brand off of, no, it's a rando brand, like cheap random brand off Amazon. I'm sure it's a Chinese company. They make, 70 different ones and they all have a different brand name on them. But it's all the same. It came in a 2-pack and I keep one in my purse to go to the community studio with, and I keep one in here and generally try and remember to put it on my phone because I just try and keep my phone at least clean. The computer suffers, but they don't really make a waterproof case for a computer so much. I'm sure they do. I know they make like keyboard covers and stuff. Yeah, really cheap. I don't even remember how much we paid for it, but they are enough that it like, for me, the waterproofness is less important than it is just to protect the protect it from getting my gross clay hands all over it. Also, in the event that like I get an important phone call and my hands are covered in clay or whatever, I can make sure to go and pick it up. Taking forever to dry. Put it out in the sun. Switch. This one's still not dry yet. Well, I guess in the meantime, we'll glaze one of these other ones that needs to be cone 10. It works pretty well. You just have to make sure it fits your phone. This one barely fits mine. But it works pretty well. Let's see. Out of these, we're gonna do some quick Googlings. Here, we'll switch back so you don't have to watch me just sit here. Green tea over speckled plum. Let's see. I needed it cone 10. Because I'm looking at combinations for those 3 mugs and that cup. So just go to the combinations. Stop Googling it like that, you dingus. So cone 10. Come on, here we go. And there's stoneware glazes. And let's look at speckled plum. I have a couple times on there, so if I pull that one up, it's more likely. There it is. So what do I have? Speckled plum over Himalayan salt has like, it runs a lot, it looks like, but it's like a floating blue over kind of a light tan. Not feeling that one. Green tea over speckled plum does. The only problem with it when I'm looking at glaze combinations is I can't see what's happening. It looks like a dark brown with some floating blue in there. Nothing fun or interesting. And I obviously don't have their entire range, right? Because that's an absurd I think in their stoneware glazes alone, that's like 200 or 300 glazes. So I don't have that many. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 of their glazes, and then light and dark flux as well. So no, there's nothing there that I'm madly in love with. Walls look pretty bare. Message Mako, get some posters. That's fair. I need a poster with only the glazes that I use, please. You can actually download, they have combo sheets, so you can actually download them yourself. I wonder if I could download them and like piece them together into my own. I probably could. Copper float at cone 10. Let's look at that again. But what I really want to do, rather than like a poster, I mean, I guess a poster would be fine, but is to just put a binder. I know, a glazed sample board is the smart idea because A, it's on my clay, and B, like it's my glazes in the firing that I use, but it's such a project to do. And you have to be so freaking organized because for even if I only have 10 glazes, that's 100 test tiles, right? Is that how that works? Because you do it 10 by 10? Is that right? Is that how math works? And you have to be so organized and write them down and make them. And I also don't know that I have space enough in here to hang a board that large. It would have to like cross multiple areas. And especially because I use two different clays. They do look cool. Like as far as adornment to the walls go, it would look pretty neat. But I would have to cover like every bit of wall space in glazed test tiles. All right. Sweep, I can't argue with you on that point. No, we know. This shed is just it was what was here, but also with so we're on a corner lot, right? So we don't have much in the way of depth. Like you can see out the door here. Maybe. Yeah, you can see. So this black bit here is the screened-in porch. So we don't have much room to go farther out, and lengthwise we don't really have much depth because this is like 6 feet or so, maybe a little bit more to the fence line there. So we really just don't have enough space in the backyard for it, unfortunately. Otherwise, I agree with you. We need a new house, obviously. I think I might try this crazy combo on the outside of this cup that is kind of a throwaway. That really like bright colored. I think I'll just line it with some Celadon glaze so that it's fine to drink out of on the inside. Maybe. So that's a possibility. So that's this one and this guy. So that's one taken care of. Since I haven't done that one before, again, this is where I get into trouble, right? All of the Mako glazes are fine to be used at cone 10. They fire them to cone 10. However, I don't know how much they run at cone 10. They're formulated to be pretty stable at cone 6. And normally I would leave a like 1/4 inch line, but I'm leaving like a 1/2 inch line on these up from the base, a waxed bottom, to hopefully prevent sealing them all to the cookies that they will all be firing on. Because that happened last time I did this, because I didn't put any extra space. And I ended up grinding and dremeling. I only had like 6 mugs or something. They were beautiful. Gorgeous. But I ended up dremeling them all off for like a whole day. It was like 6 mugs, and it took me 24 hours to remove them from the cookies because I was like, I love how they look. They're all just fused to the cookies that they're on. Actually, now that I'm saying that, I think I want to do the outside in this gorgeous, it's like runny blue with gold crystals in it, and it's really pretty, and people love it because it's blue. But I have to remember what it is, and I think it might be winter wood and smoke, maybe? I have to look. Yeah, I was undershooting how many glazes they have. So at Cone 10 in their stoneware line, they have 840 options. No, it can't be that many. It's not. They say it's that many. I feel like there are 840 combinations, but nonetheless, it's a lot. What did I say? Winterwood, I think it's winterwood and smoke, but let me double check. Yeah. So if you're following along yourself, smoke over winterwood at Cone 10, but we get brown at the top, and then we get this runny, beautiful floating blue, but and you probably can't see it very well, in the bottom of there where it's kind of thick, you get gold crystal formation, which was really gorgeous. And I think I might do that at least on the outside of these pieces. Because the public do love them some blue. Are you a hot dog? Let's see. Hot boy. He just loves being hot. Unless I could put something else on the inside of those that would be more interesting. But I think the Celadon's probably a good idea. It's nice and stable. Like, it looks fine. Smoke over winterwood. Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing. And I think the reason I get those gold bits, crystals, is because of the crystals in the winterwood. And actually, the last time I had this glaze, I saved. Oh, it's glazed shut. This is what I mean, where these bottles would be great. Trying to open this thing when it's glazed shut, I've hurt myself, like given myself like rug burn on here. But I saved and washed the crystals that were left over and just put them in water so that if I wanted to use them, I could. Yeah, I need like a silicone thingy. There we go, got it. But yeah, I just saved the crystals in the bottom. Since I figured that might be fun. But okay. Oh, but now I have it all over my pants. Oh. Before I move on. Let me check the little bowls so I can finish one thing before I start the next. These each need at least one coat of this. This is still a little on the wet side, but who has time for sitting around? Okay, good. I did switch it. This was the lavender mist, right? So I'm only gonna do halfway down so I can kind of get more information on this as well. So I know what the lavender mist by itself looks like on this clay. I'm holding it up, so we need to come up a little bit and not stick our fingers in it. Like I said, these ones are going to be just glaze tests. Kind of see how these react on these seconds, on these bowls. But give me ideas at least. I will say the one thing that I'm not real thrilled about with this, like the speckly, crystally glaze, is that there's no way to control the amount of crystals that are in suspension without like picking them out. I kind of wish like the crystals were almost sold separately so that I could place them, but then it gets kind of ridiculous. Or like add them as much as I want, rather than what is in here. But just because I sometimes feel like here we're oversaturated with those like purpley spots. Yeah, I want pottery sprinkles. I know you can, and I've done it before. I've collected like glaze drips on my newspaper and then used them like around the rim on a bowl or something. So that it's just kind of a fun speckly way to use up the gunk that ends up on my newspaper. I can probably just buy them from a pottery, but I have to figure out what they are. That's the problem. And I'm sure Mako will not happily tell me what they are. Though somebody has to know what the heck it is. Let's see if it even says in the description. Matte white glaze with purple crystals that melt. As the crystals melt, a blue halo forms in the glaze around them. Cool, cool, cool. At cone 10, color darkens to variegated light gray and purple, and the crystals melt. Okay. Ah, interesting. Indigo Rain uses SW106 alabaster as the base glaze. So I wonder if I were to buy a thing of alabaster and just like cut them half and half, I didn't look on Digifire. This one in particular makes the manganese specs in my clay. Yes, they will be. That is manganese, obviously. The ones in the glaze are some purple blue something or other. That I have no idea what it is. Let's keep these better organized. Keep all the caustic stuff together. I think that would probably be my best option, is to just buy more alabaster and like doctor the alabaster with a thing of indigo rain to where I wanted it. And then if I wanted more areas of speckly purple or whatever, I would go back to the main glaze, but yeah, I kind of wish I had a little bit more control of like how much there was and such. I don't think I did 2 coats on that, but it's fine. It'll be fine. It was a thick coat anyway. Now I have to get it all out of my gosh dang brush.